Hi and welcome back to my channel. I am Elle. If you're new here, hello. I am a fitness coach and I also post some training, nutrition and lifestyle content. I post a lot more over on Instagram, so if you do want to join me over on there, I will link it here. It is Elle Fitness PT. I post a lot more frequently on there, so if you are looking for some fitness advice, training tips, anything like that, go and drop me a follow. And then today I thought I'd just jump on and talk a little bit about the things I wish I knew before I started training, because I've been training now for about 5 to 6 years, so I feel like I have been through quite a few phases, after quite a few trends and things like that, and there's so many things which I've learned along the way which I wish I'd have known when I first started, because I would have got results a lot quicker and I would have had a much more enjoyable time in the process. So if that is something which you are wanting to stick around for and find out, then keep on watching. So first things first, I think one of the main things which I wish I'd known when I first started fitness was your dream body is not going to be achievable if it's someone else's. So I remember when I first started training, I'd screenshot physiques of other people. I'd have these dream bodies which I really wanted to get, but they were never achievable because I am not them and they are not me. So I'm never going to be able to get a physique of someone else because they are not the same as me. So having someone else as your own goal is not going to get you the results you want, and it's going to leave you feeling a little bit disheartened because you're not going to get the results that you're after, because it's not possible. No matter if you train like them, ate like them, had the same routine as them, it's just not possible for so many things. Genetics being a key one, but there's so many things that play into it. So when you are first starting out and you are looking to sort of transform your physique or change your body, don't set your goals as someone else's body. You can appreciate things like, oh, someone's got good quads, I want to grow my quads, or someone's got good glutes, good back, and you can focus your training around that and your nutrition around that. But saying you want to look like someone is not going to be a successful way to sort of start your journey and to make progress in your physique. And number two, speaking of copying other people, it's going to be going onto YouTube or Instagram or TikTok and looking at workouts and following them. Yes, it is great to have a plan in place, and I would highly recommend you have a plan in order to make progress. However, if you're logging onto these social apps and you are just following workouts randomly as and when, then you're not going to make progress long term. I remember that is how I first got into training. So yes, it is good to get you into training, but if you're looking to make serious changes and serious results, then you're going to want to make sure that you've got a plan in place which you can continue and progressing over time, as opposed to switching workouts each week. I remember when I first started training, it was Whitney Simmons and Megan Grubb and Busy Bee Harris with all the people who I first started following, and I'd go to the gym and pick a random workout which I'd found on their profiles and I'd do that each week. I would change the workouts up and I wasn't really making much progress because I wasn't really sticking to the same plan. I'd have new movements in every week, I'd have new exercises, I'd have new rep ranges, everything would change, nothing would stay the same. If you do want to make progress, I would highly recommend you get a plan and you stick to it. And I actually have a free 4-week guide linked in my bio below. If you want to get that, grab that, just click for the link in my bio below. And it is 4 weeks, but I would highly recommend you stick on it for longer than that, so at least 8 weeks, if not more, especially if you're looking to build muscle. But it is down there in my bio. It's free 4 weeks and it is specialised towards glutes, but anyone can do it, whatever your goals are, especially if you're new. Then it's just a great starter guide to help get into the gym. It's got workouts and everything like that for you, so it's free, check it out and let me know if you do enjoy it. Mistake number 3, which I made when I first started training, is not training with enough intensity. So I'm guilty of sometimes now even, but more so when I first started training. I would train and as soon as I felt a slight inconvenience or a slight burn in the muscle, I would stop, I would end my set, and I was quite happy with that. However, if you want to grow muscle and if you want to make progress in the gym, you're going to want to make sure that you A, are tracking your lifts, and B, that you are training with intensity. And by that I don't mean you have to be training till failure every single exercise every single day, but you want to push quite close to failure when you are training. So if your reps are looking the same from your first rep to your last rep, then more than likely you've got room to improve in terms of your weight or your intensity. A rule of thumb which I tend to have with my clients is if your first rep and your last rep are looking at the same speed in terms of tempo, then you probably either can push for more reps or you can push the weight up if your form is in check. So let's say you have a 10 to 12 rep set, and your rep 1 should not look the same as your rep 10, 11 or 12. These reps should look a lot harder. Your concentric phase should be a lot slower and you should start to see a slowdown in rep speed. If that's not the case, then girl, you can up the weight if your form is on check. So bear that in mind. Intensity matters when you're training. It is great to show up for the gym, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Be proud of yourself if you show up for the gym, because that is a habit in itself which is hard to get into, but once you do, it is stunning. However, you may as well make the most of your time in the gym by training with a good intensity, lifting heavy and really pushing yourself. It's an hour of your day, maybe 4 to 5 hours per week. Be a little bit uncomfortable, really push yourself, and then the rest of the week you can rest and recover and watch the gains massively improve once you start training with more intensity. And on the topic of rest and recovery, something which I wish I really paid attention to when I first started training was this. So when I first started training, I remember I would go 6, 7, 8, 9 days on the trot to the gym. Bear in mind, I didn't really have a plan in place, and my intensity, as I just mentioned, was not great at all. But training for 6, 7, 8, 9 days in a row is not going to do any benefit for your body. When you're training with good intensity and you've got a good plan in place, you want to be training, you want to make sure you have rest days. Me personally, I now only train 4 days a week, and I'll have a cardio day as well. But I have 2 solid full rest days per week, and then I've got 1 active rest day for my cardio. So I've seen the most amount of progress since I changed from 6, 7 days a week to 4 days a week. And that's because I'm giving my body a chance to rest and recover. And that is where you're building muscle. Yes, you build muscle in the gym for your weights that you lift, but your muscle is resting and repairing and growing during your rest periods outside of the gym. So that is also why you should not neglect your sleep, because that is also going to play a big role in helping you make progress. But I think that's a big one for me, is understanding that more is not always better. Doing less can sometimes give you better results. I definitely found that, and I find it with my clients who come and say, oh, I can do 5, 6, even 7 days a week in the gym, and I'll never program that because I know it's not going to get the results, because you're not going to be able to perform as well in each of your sessions, and you're just going to burn out and fatigue, and you'll find that in a few weeks time you can't be bothered, you're burnt out, you're tired, and you just want that rest. Whereas if you give yourself the rest in the week, so you train for 3, 4 or 5 days a week, you'll get much better results, and you'll be able to continue it more long term. And finally, thing number 5, which I wish I knew when I first started training, is your nutrition. So this is something which I probably neglected a lot when I first started getting into fitness, and it wasn't that I neglected it, it's I just followed trends. So I cut out bread for an entire year, I would only eat foods which I deemed to be good, and I avoided bad foods, and there's no such things as bad foods. I sort of was in that mindset of cheat meals and carbs were bad and everything like that. So I've been there and I've done that, and if I would recommend anything to anyone, it would be to not get sucked into trends when it comes to nutrition, especially because what I find with a lot of people, and myself included, is nutrition is one of the things which is probably most damaging to mindset, especially around good and bad foods. So when it comes to nutrition, you also don't want to be spending your entirety of your time in a calorie deficit. One of the most common things I get as a coach, and I hear girls say to me, is they want to tone up, yet they've not spent any time in a muscle building phase or eating above their maintenance, if not a deficit calories, because they're scared that an increase in calories is going to mean an increase in scale weight, and they're not going to get that lean, toned physique which they're after. However, this is something which I wish I had known sooner, and in order to get that toned, defined, sculpted physique, which a lot of girls are after, you need to spend time out of a calorie deficit. You can't spend your entirety of your life chasing fat loss. And even if you do have a substantial amount of weight to lose, then you're going to still want to spend time out of being in a calorie deficit in order to allow your body to recover and to recoup any fatigue which has built up. So you're not going to make as much progress as you potentially can if you're always spending time in a calorie deficit. If you want to build muscle, then you're going to want to spend some time in a surplus, more time than you are in a deficit. It takes longer to grow muscle than it does to lose fat, and if you want to get a toned physique, then I wish I'd known this when I started. You need to push the weights in the gym, you need to progressive overload, and most importantly, you need to be eating enough food to fuel your body. You're not going to get anywhere if you've not got the fuel to do it. So that is something which if you take anything from this video, take away that, is that you can't spend your entire life in a deficit, no matter who you see on the internet, especially with someone coming around. Everyone's always sort of fat loss, fat loss, fat loss. That's all you sort of see on social media right now, is fat loss journeys. And yes, I'm not against them, but trying to get in the mindset of not always being in that calorie deficit, because I spent so long always wanting to be the skinniest version of myself and wanting to be the smallest version of myself. I never would have changed from where I was a few years ago, which was looking like this, into where I am now, which is this, if I hadn't have came out of that calorie deficit. And there's so many benefits of being out of the calorie deficit. So you get improved strength, improved energy, you can lift heavier in the gym, you can just, your mood and everything is so much better when you're not restricting your calories. So I hope these tips have helped, and I hope if you are starting out on your fitness journey, then you find something useful, because I really wish when I started training and getting into fitness and nutrition that I'd watched a video like this, because I wouldn't have made half the mistakes I'd made when I did. So just to recap, the 5 things which I wish I knew when I first started training. The one would be not to have my dream physique as someone else's, because it's not achievable or attainable and they are not you. So stop trying to chase someone else's body when you've got your own. Number 2 is to not copy other people's workout programs and switch it up week by week. Yes, you can copy someone's program if you're going to stick with it for a long period of time and you're going to keep on doing it week in, week out. However, in terms of a general plan, you'll get much better results if you've got one which is personalised to you and one which is going to take you through it long term, as opposed to switching it up week in, week out, because you may get bored doing the same thing each week, but it's a lot more boring training and not seeing results. So remember that. Number 3 is to make sure that you're training with intensity, and by that I don't mean training to failure each time, just getting close to failure on your lifts and making sure you're progressing with the weights. Number 4 would be to prioritise your rest and recovery. Make sure you're getting your rest days throughout the week and you're not just training back to back each day. Give at least 48 hours between muscle groups, but in general make sure you have rest days programmed within your week where you actually take those rests, and so you allow your body to rest and recover, because that's going to get you a better result. And then finally, number 5 is going to be your nutrition. So stop spending all the time being in a calorie deficit. Make sure you are fueling your body with enough fuel in order to grow, especially, as I said, if you want to get that toned physique, you're going to want to spend time in a muscle building phase so that you can grow muscle, which is going to eventually, when you do go into a fat loss phase, you're going to be able to see it and you're going to get that strong toned physique which you have been chasing. So hopefully you find this video helpful. If you do, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe down below, because I am trying to post a bit more frequently on YouTube. But again, if you do want more frequent posts, then just got me a follow over on Instagram, and I will speak soon.